This is another Tuesday. I'm bringing you today the part 1 from William Lane Craig's 6 ways religion and science are relevant to each other. 3 of the ways I'm going to mention today. By next Tuesday, I will mention the other 3 names, and that will end all the teachings I've been doing on religion and science. I hope for those of you who are following this particular teaching on religion and science, you've been enjoying it. I'm still open to dialogue, to debates on it, and I'm still open to feedbacks and questions. You can check my description link for my email and my telephone number, the business telephone number. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly do so. And I want to wish everybody happy preparation for the December holidays, the Christmas and the end of the year. For those who are traveling, I wish every one of us journey mercy so that God will grant us safety as we go and come back to our base. So I'm going to teach today strictly William Lane Craig's 3 of the 6 ways religion and science are relevant to each other. William Lane Craig's 6 ways science and religion are relevant to each other. Like I said, we have been discussing religion and science, and I hope you'll be following. This is Learn with Joes, and this is Dr. Josephine, the online educator. Number 1 of those suggested by William Lane Craig say religion furnishes the conceptual framework in which science can flourish. Let me repeat that for emphasis. Religion furnishes the conceptual framework in which science can flourish. Science is not natural to humanity. As science writer Lauren Esley has emphasized, science is an invented cultural institution that requires a unique soil to flourish. And although glimmerings of science appeared among the ancient Greeks and Chinese, modern science is the child of the European civilization. Why is this so? This is due to the unique contribution of the Christian faith to Western culture. As Esley states, it is the Christian word which finally gave birth in a clear, articulate fashion to the experimental method of science itself. In contrast to pantheistic or animistic religions, Christianity does not view the world as divine or as indwelt by spirits, but rather as the natural product of a transcendent creator who designed and brought it into being. Thus, the world is a rational place, open to exploration and discovery. Furthermore, the whole scientific enterprise is based on certain assumptions that cannot be proved scientifically, but which are guaranteed by the Christian worldview. For example, the laws of logic, the orderly nature of the external world, the reliability of our cognitive faculties in knowing the world, and the objectivity of the moral values used in science. I want to emphasize here that science could not even exist without these assumptions. And yet, these assumptions cannot be proved scientifically. Hello? I hope you are following what I'm saying. They are philosophical assumptions to which interestingly are part and parcel of a Christian worldview. Thus, religion is relevant to science because it can furnish a conceptual framework in which science can exist. More than that, the Christian religion historically did furnish the conceptual framework in which modern science was born and nurtured. Number two, science can both falsify and verify claims of religion. When religions make claims about the natural world, they intersect the domain of science and are in effect making predictions that scientific investigation can either verify or falsify. Let me give some examples of each. First, examples of falsification. Some examples are prominent. The views of ancient Greek and Indian religions that the sky rested on the soldiers of Atlas, or the world on the back of a great turtle, were easily falsified. But more subtle examples are available too. One of the most notorious examples was the medieval church condemnation of Galileo for holding that the earth moves around the sun rather than vice versa, based on their misinterpretation of specific biblical passages like Psalm 93:1, which says, "The Lord has established the world, it shall never be moved." Medieval theologians denied that the earth moved. Scientific evidence eventually falsified this hypothesis, and the church belatedly finally came to admit its mistake. Another interesting example of science falsifying a religious view is the claim of several Eastern religions, like Taoism and certain forms of Hinduism, that the world is divine and therefore eternal. The discovery during the century of the expansion of the universe reveals that far from being eternal, all matter and energy, even physical space and time themselves, came into existence at a point in the finite past before which nothing existed. And you remember Genesis 1:1, in the beginning. As Stephen Hawking says in his 1996 book, The Nature of Space and Time, almost everyone now believes that the universe and time itself had a beginning at the Big Bang. But if the universe came into being in the Big Bang, then it is temporarily finite and contingent in its existence, and therefore neither eternal nor divine, as pantheistic religions had claimed. On the other hand, science can also verify religious claims. For example, one of the principal doctrines of the Judeo-Christian faith is that God created the universe out of nothing a finite time ago. The Bible begins with the words, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Genesis 1:1. The Bible thus teaches that the universe had a beginning. This teaching was repudiated by ancient Greek philosophy and modern atheism, including dialectical materialism. Then in 1929, with the discovery of the universe expansion, this doctrine was dramatically verified. Physicists John Barrow and Frank Tipler, speaking of the beginning of the universe, explained, at this singularity, space and time came into existence. Nothing existed before the singularity. And so, if the universe originated as such a singularity, we would truly have a creation ex nihilo, out of nothing. Against all expectations, science thus verified this religious prediction. Robert Jastrow, head of NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies, envisioned it this way. The scientist has scaled the mountains of ignorance, is about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries. A second scientific verification of a religious belief is the claim of the great monotheistic faith that the world is the product of intelligent design. Scientists initially thought that whatever the initial conditions of the universe were, eventually the universe will evolve into the complex life forms we see today. But during the last 40 years, scientists have been stunned by the discovery of how complex and sensitive a balance of initial conditions must be given in the Big Bang for the universe to permit the origin and evolution of intelligent life in the cosmos. In the various fields of physics and astrophysics, classical cosmology, quantum mechanics, and biochemistry, discoveries have repeatedly disclosed that the existence of intelligent life depends upon a delicate balance of physical constraints and quantities. So if any of this was slightly altered, the balance will be destroyed and life will not exist. The universe appears incomprehensibly fine-tuned from its inception to produce intelligent life. We now know that life-prohibiting universes are more probable than any life-permitting universe like ours. How much more probable? The answer is that the chances that the universe should be life-permitting are infinitesimal, incomprehensible, and incalculable. For example, Stephen Hawking has estimated that if the rate of the universe expansion 1 second after the Big Bang had been more diminutive by even 1 part in 100,000 million, the universe will have recollapsed into a hot fireball. P.C.W. Davis has calculated the odds against the initial conditions being suitable for later star formation, without which planets could not exist. It's one followed by 1,000 billion zeros at least. He also estimates that a change in the strength of gravity of the weak force by only 1 part in 10,100 will have prevented a life-permitting universe. So there are several such quantities and constants present at the Big Bang, which must be fine-tuned. In this way, if the universe is to permit life, so improbability is multiplied by improbability until our minds reel in incomprehensible numbers. There's no physical reason why these constants and quantities should possess the values they do. The former agnostic physicist, Paul Davies, comments, through my scientific work, I have come to believe increasingly strongly that the physical universe is put together with an ingenuity so astonishing that I'm talking about Davies now, not myself, that Davies cannot accept it merely as a brute fact. Similarly, Fred Olriebach's a common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics. So our discovery of the fine-tuning of the Big Bang for intelligent life is like someone trudging through the Gobi Desert and the rounding a dune, suddenly being confronted with a skyscraper the size of the Empire State Building. We will rightly dismiss as mad the suggestion that it just happened to come together there by chance. And we will have find equally wide the idea that any arrangement of sand particles at that place is improbable. So there's nothing to be explained. Why is this? That's the question. Why is this? Because the skyscraper exhibits a complexity that is absent from random arrangements of sound. But why should the complexity of the skyscraper strike us as unique? John Leslie says it because there is an apparent explanation of the complex skyscraper that is not suggested by just a random arrangement of sand grains, namely intelligent design. So in the same way, Leslie concludes, the fine-tuning of the initial conditions of the universe for life points to the apparent explanation of intelligent design. Thus, science can both falsify and verify the claims of religion. Number 3, and I'll be ending on number 3. Next Tuesday, I will give the other 3, William Lane Craig's hypothesis about the interaction between science and religion. The third one, science encounters metaphysical problems that religion can help to solve, because only religion, this with the supernatural, and metaphysical is supernatural. So science has an insatiable thirst for explanation. So, but eventually, science reaches the limits of its explanatory ability. For example, in explaining why various things in the universe exist, science ultimately confronts the question of why the universe itself exists. Notice that this need not be a question about the temporal origin of the universe. Even if space-time is beginningless and endless, we may still ask why space-time exists. Physicist David Park reflects as to why there is space-time. That appears to be an excellent scientific question, but nobody knows how to answer it. Nobody knows. Here, theology can help. Traditional theists conceive God as a necessary being whose non-existence is impossible, not even possible. God exists. So who is the creator of the contingent world of space and time, if not God? Thus, the person who believes in God has the resources to select science tests for ultimate explanation. You can present this reason in the form of a simple argument. 1, everything that exists has an explanation of its existence, either in the necessity of its nature or in an external cause. 2, if the universe has an explanation of its existence, that explanation is God. 3, the universe exists. 4, therefore, the explanation of the existence of the universe is God. I'm so happy the way I have concluded this one with the 4 points, actually supporting the fact of God's existence. For some of you who have been viewing my videos, I told you a brief about my educational or academic background. My first degree is in biochemistry, which is science-based and science-related. My master degree which is the second, is in biblical studies. It's like gradual. Because I didn't do anything like Bible in the first day. So from science, I went to biblical studies because I want to see how I could relate religion or theology with science. My peak degree, which is doctorate degree, is in philosophy of religion and theology, which we say doctorate degree in theological studies. I have finally blended my scientific background with my theological outlook, faith outlook. And the more you look at it, even scientifically, like I've just said, following what William Lane Craig said about the relevance of the both of religion and science, you can see religion and science are very relevant to each other. And it's only in the metaphysical world, which is the religion-based faith, that you can prove that God truly exists. And without God, I don't know how science can even talk about the existence of the universe. Thank you for joining me today. Look at my description link for my contact address for feedback and contacts. Love you all. Thank you.